The content presented in this podcast and YouTube show is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the guidance of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding your health or a medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard or seen on this show. If you think you may have a medical emergency, call your doctor or emergency services immediately. The host, guest, and producers of this show are not responsible for any adverse effects resulting from your use of or reliance on any information presented.
Andrea, can you hear us?
Many years ago, I died for 26 seconds. There are so many people in this world that have experienced life events that have led to their soul purpose. Wake Up Your Soul with Andrea will bring you these significant life events that demonstrate how to use those moments for guidance and life purpose. These are our stories. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Wake Up Your Soul with Andrea Lynn. Today's guest is here to talk to us about not being just another statistic. Let's welcome Chad Jacob. Hi, Chad.
Hi, thanks for having me on, Andrea.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming on and thanks for being so vulnerable because I know you're about to share a lot of deeply personal things that you've gone through. So I'll go ahead and tell everybody that you're now running a multi-million-dollar business. You have a franchise for college Hunks Hauling Junk. And you have done that, but it hasn't been easy. So let's go back to your childhood and just share with everybody what it was like.
Okay. So for me growing up, I counted it as just making me a stronger individual. That's what I say it is. Parents were divorced by 5. I've never lived anywhere longer in my life than 5 years total. That was the longest I ever lived anywhere was up until that time. Ended up moving to a trailer park, which good for me. The problem is I was the minority in that group. So I got beat every day. Every day was a struggle, whether going to the store, whether going to the bus stop. It didn't matter what it was. As we kept going, by age 11, my dad dropped me off. And I didn't see him again for many years. At that time, I started resulting into doing other things. And life just kind of took off from that point, I guess you could say.
Did your mom know that you were being bullied?
Yes, she definitely did. You couldn't go to the bus stop. Like every day at the bus stop, I was getting jumped by 2 to 3 people. We had what we'd play football or in the trailer park, like behind the trailers and everything of the sorts. And every time I came back, I'd have black eyes or things of the sorts because it was more like gang up on Chad. And it's just something I got used to. And I think it's something that became the norm. Also, my mom, rest her soul, she was in and out of relationships too. Like she never found happiness again from the moment my dad left. And during those moments, the people that brought in weren't the best of individuals. So they would not only beat her, but they beat me too. So I think it kind of just was like, this was the normal life. This is what's expected. And this is how you just go.
That's heavy. So I want to ask though, when you were a child, do you remember the thoughts that you were taking on during those days? Because I know I suffered through depression and things as a kid. And I can remember sitting alone in my room and the thoughts that I was having. And so I'm curious, do you remember after going through being beat up on the football field or being beat up at the bus stop, would you go home and sit with yourself and have certain thoughts?
Yeah, I remember doing that ever since I was probably 5 or 6 years old, to be honest with you. I used to ask, why me? What is it about me that deserves this?
Oh,
One thing I also forgot to mention is when I was born with my feet backward. So they had to break both my ankles, both of my knees, and my right shins. And I had casts and like I call them the Forrest Gump braces and everything else. until I was 5 years old. So the doctors always said I'd never walk. Then they said I would never walk without a limp. I would never walk without anything helping me. So it's like, as that was going, as I was growing up, and it was just even from a small toddler, basically, it's like, why me? Why is this happening? Why me? Why is this happening? Why is my mom leaving? Why is my stepdad beating her? Why is he kicking her through the Christmas tree? Like, why is this happening in our life? What is going on? And it's just kind of stuck with me the whole time, I guess you could say.
Mhm. Okay, so then you get to a point, you said a few years later after your dad leaves, and is this when you start turning to drugs?
By 11 years old, I started using drugs. I feel like, I don't think it was, at first, it wasn't a way for me to run from my problems. Like, is what the typical stereotype thing is like, okay, you're going to start getting high to dilute the things.
Mhm.
I did it more for the, I guess, attention of camaraderie from other individuals, because I was always the one that was getting beat up. We were super poor. Used to have a big old birthmark on my face that was cancerous. So I got called poop stain and everything else. It was just nonstop bullying. And so, like, to me, when I started getting into the drug life,
Mhm.
that's how I made friends. It's like we just sat behind the school, got high together, got drunk together. I started getting older friends because, that's who you would go to get the drugs from. And so I started to feel wanted. I started to feel needed. I started to feel included, which is all the things I didn't feel.
Well, yeah, when you're
Yeah.
getting bullied, what do? Go find another group of kids that are all getting bullied? I mean, you may not even be aware. So, yeah, you're trying to find people that are in similar circles, right? And when you're doing the drugs, that's easy to find. Oh, you do it too? Oh, cool. Let's hang out. Let's do it together.
Yeah, much easier that way.
Yeah. Okay, so you start dabbling in the drugs. When I'm assuming it gets pretty out of control at some point because you do end up in prison.
Correct.
Okay.
I'll give you a brief rundown then. So how my teen years went, so to say. My dad is one of the most hardworking people I've ever met in my life. And to this day, my dad he is now turning 75 years old. And the only day I've ever seen my dad leave work was the day he came home and took me and dropped me off at my mom's house. This is again when I was 11. It says, have a nice day. He came back 2 weeks later for my weekend, and he showed up, pulled into the driveway, threw out 5 black garbage bags, and it was all my clothes and everything from his house as I'm walking out my mom's house, and he pulled out and I didn't see him again. That was the start of it. That was like, oh, this is real. Like, my dad wants nothing to do with me.
Yeah. Okay. So in that moment, you're thinking, wow, like I really don't have a lot of value here. My own father doesn't even want me.
Yes.
Yeah.
At that point, I started going down the rabbit hole. That's when I started really, really dabbling more into drugs and started to seek out other avenues for things to appease me. Became not so great of an individual. Just started acting out a lot of things wrong. I started stealing. It's like I needed that sense of excitement, that sense of doing the wrong thing to feel something. And then at that point, I realized I couldn't keep going. And so I ended up running away pretty much. By the time I was 15, I was sleeping outside, eating out of trash cans. I was like, finally, it took me a couple months of out under a bridge before I finally was able to get my own place. My mom didn't really want me there because I wouldn't want me there either. I wasn't the best individual. I just kept going and going and going. And so I got my own place, and I'm like, okay, this is going to be good. I'm 15. I was sophomore in high school. I was still trying to go to school. And I'm like, I'm going to get this. I'm going to figure this out. But I didn't stop the drugs. I didn't stop the stealing. I didn't stop it's like, I got this, but yeah, I'm going to keep doing all this. It's like, no, that doesn't work that way.
I'm going to do all this and more.
Yeah, right. Because that was my way of paying for my apartment. That was my way of coping. That was my best friend. I mean, my drugs were my best friend. And it was like, this is what I'm going to do. So that's the life I just kept going with. That was my teens.
Okay. So I want to go back instead of just keep moving forward. I do want to go back to this point of childhood and this questioning of why me, why me? Because I think that's such a common thought for anybody that is struggling. Any child, any adult, anybody that is struggling, they're asking, why me? Because you see yourself and you see the kind heart that you have and this genuine zest for life, but yet you're still being attacked and things are still coming at you. And for me, like I shared beforehand, it was different. It was health stuff and it was depression and it was illnesses and it was just one thing after another. And I had the same question, why me? And at some point it gets kind of old. It's like, well, I'm not getting an answer. I keep asking, but I'm not getting an answer, which I now have learned, I wasn't really listening either. Like I was asking, but also not really, I don't know, allowing an answer to come or really truly seeking the answer. But what would you say to yourself, that younger self that was asking, why me? What would you say now?
For me, I was very similar to what you're saying. And it was like, okay, it's just happening. It's just happening. And as I've gotten older, and the way I feel now is you can control how you feel. You can't control what others do, but you can control how you feel.
Yeah.
So the whole time growing up and I'm like, why me? Why me? And now I'm like, well, why not me? What are you learning from this? What can you create from this? How much stronger are you becoming because of this? And I used every one of those moments now as like a stepping stone. Like it was like, all right, you're learning from this. Here you go. But when you're an adolescent, it's like, that's smart. Rocks just keep pounding us. That's what I would tell myself now. It's like, listen, this is only going to make you stronger. This is going to give you more ammunition to be a better human being. This is going to allow you to help more people in life. But you have to learn, you have to adapt, and you have to grow from it. And if you don't, then you're just dying. You're just going to allow things to tear you apart, and it's just going to keep eating you inside, and nobody's going to want you around. And I truly believe that. I believe, even though I was 8, 9, again, like the Christmas, I was 7 years old. My mom was 8 months pregnant with my little sister. And I watched my stepdad just straight kick her straight through the stomach, straight into the Christmas tree. And it was like, and I'm like, why me? But then, okay, could you have stopped that? What could you have done? How could you have helped your mom? And at the time, you just cry. And then eventually you jump in front and then you're the person and you learn from it. Everything just made you stronger is what I feel like.
And I think it's really important to not hold on to any guilt for how you handled it, especially as a child. You are not equipped with the development neurologically to even handle these situations. But would you say something different to a mother or a father who's dealing with a child that's dabbling in drugs or is getting bullied? Or would you say something different than what you've just said to a parent to help their child?
I would. I'm a father of 4. And the hardest thing for me as a parent is I'm scared that my kids will have to go through what I went through. Every day makes me nervous that they're going to run through it. So I tell them my story and I let them see what my life was like. And the ongoing joke was, well, we made it further than you, Dad. Like, about like doing drugs or getting pregnant or doing things of the nature. And I'm like, I'm proud of you for that. Thank you. And that's the ongoing joke. For me as an individual, I truly believe, and I think this is just being selfish, but I think I'm the strongest human being on the face of this planet. Like I'm capable of handling more than I want to see the person next to me is. So to me, it was like, okay, this is just helping me grow. But if I watch that happen to somebody else and I'm like, you don't deserve this. Like you shouldn't be going through this. I do feel that bullying is different than the choice of somebody doing drugs or things of that nature, because bullying, there's really nothing you control. There's nothing you can. I was super, super poor. My grandma-in-law used to make my clothes. She used to go down to the fabric store. I used to wear hot pink shorts because that was the fabric that was on clearance. So I was getting shorts for like 50 cents.
That would probably be in style now. You're hot.
Yeah, it would be. It would be. It was like I couldn't control that. I didn't have food. I couldn't eat at school. So everybody made fun of you for that. So for a parent, when it comes to that, I just tell them, do the best you can do for them and let them know, let your child know that you love them and you care about them and you're there for them. You're there to hear them out and you're not there to judge, and allow them to open up to talk to you. And that's one thing I've been fortunate with as we've gotten older is my kids do talk to me. They open up to me.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the drugs, that's an individual choice.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, like I don't believe in, you can't be codependent. You can't tell them like, you need to stop for this person or you need to stop for this. If you don't choose to stop, you'll never stop. And
Yeah, I often talk about this difference of a want and a need. And there's such a dramatic difference between wanting to stop doing drugs and needing to stop. You might need to stop. I mean, you all need to stop, right? Like if you're out there dabbling in these hardcore drugs, you need to stop. You need to. But if you don't want to, you won't.
that is for sure true. 100%.
Yeah. So what would you tell a parent though that has a child that's getting into drugs? What would you tell the parent? As far as the bullying goes, it's really important to let that kid know that they're not alone. I don't want to say it's common. It shouldn't keep going, but the parent needs to also show that they care and they're getting involved and they're going to try to make it stop in some way or another. My daughter actually was bullied in kindergarten. That's as far as we made it in the public school system. And it was way too many instances for me. And I mean, one is too many, to be honest, but I didn't even know about all of them until we polled her and then she told us about more. But the school didn't really do anything about it. And I mean, I think I showed her, mommy doesn't tolerate this, and we pulled her. But I know not everybody has the ability to homeschool, but hopefully, I want to say that, but I also feel like where there's a will, there's a way, and you can find a way. And maybe it's finding somebody that even lives in the town over and finding a way into a different school system, just a different school, because the environment's got to change if they're being bullied, because all you can do is put your kid in a better place. But for the drugs, what would you say to a parent? How do you help your kid that's thinking this is okay? I mean, I would think you start talking to them about, hey, can we talk about why are you doing this? I'm just curious because look, I did it, not me, but for you, you'd be like, I did it because I was trying to numb the pain or I was trying to fit in with a certain, what's your reasoning? I'm just curious.
Yep. You're spot on. Maybe this is where I learned, figure out the why.
Mhm.
Once you figure out the why, then you can find the solution.
Mhm.
And no matter what it is in life. And I think you're spot on with that. Especially it shows that you are open and you're willing. And also the hard thing is to allow your own emotions, because this is your child. And especially if you live the life, you know what's out there and you know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And it's a matter of, hey, listen, no judgments, no nothing here. Let's just put everything on the table. Right now, I'm your friend. Like right now, I'm just a person for you to talk to. Why are you going to do this? Why are you choosing this? And then even when they give you an answer, and sometimes you might not like the answer might be because you're a horrible parent. Honest, that might be what they say to you. 9 times out of 10, that's not the truth. That's the
Yeah.
rebelliousness coming out. It's like, you were mean to me last week, so I did. It's like, no, that's not really why. So let's dig down through it. And once you can truly get the why, then you can start working on it. And the number one thing is, this isn't a quick fix. It's
Yeah.
not all of a sudden it's gone. Yes, for an addict, there has to be a switch inside the addict's mind that says, I'm done. And when that happens, that's when you stop.
Mhm.
There's that, oh, I'm going to try to quit. No, then you just leave a back door for failure and you're just going to go back.
Mhm.
So for a parent, it's like literally what you said, try to find the why. Be open, be understanding, be communicative, and work through it.
And don't shut them down like you're saying when they say, oh, because you're a bad parent. Don't start into this whole battle with them over, I'm not a bad parent, da, 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 da. Like, just let them sit in their beliefs and be like, okay, well, maybe, humor them a little bit, I would say. But obviously, I'm not a psychologist and neither are you. So we're not giving that type of advice here. But I think, for somebody that's lived it, you can speak to that point of it. So I think that's very valuable. And I think, like you're saying, it's so important that switch. That switch just has to go off for all things in life, even just the drive in life to push forward, to get out of any situation. There just has to be this switch that I'm done. I'm done. This is not the life I want anymore. And I'm kissing it goodbye. And I'm going to do whatever I have to do. It's just that switch that makes a lot of sense for a lot of different scenarios in life. So let's jump back to 15. So 15. Where are we at?
I'm in a roach infested hotel or no apartment.
Okay.
So by then I had my own place. I was able to be in my own place for about 6 months, 7 months before the landlord realized that I was 15 years old. And they're like, you're out. This isn't the name on the lease. Like, I got somebody that was over 18 to get me the place. And it was like, here
Okay.
we go. And I was like, oh, great. Here I am homeless again. I had this big yellow duffel bag. I will never forget it because this bag was huge. And I used to carry it around. And I started staying at people's couches and things of the nature. And then finally somebody was like, hey, you can stay with me. That ended up being my son's mom, by the way. That's how the story started trickling. I found somebody else's house to stay at, found somebody else's house to stay at. I kept a job the whole time. So I was what you would be calling, this is weird to say it, but a functioning addict. I would attempt to go to school. I went to school. I still graduated. I graduated early, to be honest with you, with a high school diploma. But I actually went to actual school for my high school years. I think it was like 3 months total for 4 years. So
Wow.
got expelled my freshman year after a month and a half. And then my sophomore year, I went to school for another month. And then my junior year, I went to school for 2 days. And then by my senior year, I was doing night school so I could graduate while my son was being born.
So at 17, you became a father.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. I ended up, as soon as she got pregnant, I was 16. And I was like, oh, dude, like, here's life. Why me? And it's like, well, you know why. You know
Wow.
what you did. Yeah.
I could answer that one.
Yeah. This doesn't just happen. So,
It doesn't. It doesn't.
yeah.
Right? What some people think.
Yeah. It was crazy. It happened. It was weird how, like, I really liked this person and they didn't like me back. They were just being nice as I was the strange kid that they let sleep on the couch. And I got into a bad car accident. I flipped my car like off a small cliff. And luckily, the one time where not wearing your seatbelt saved your life. It went flying through the air sideways. The whole roof caved down.
Okay.
And I got pinned between the windshield and the ground. And that's what saved my life because I got lucky and I crawled out of the car and nobody could believe it. So that moment is when she realized, oh, I like you. So, yeah. So you're alive. Cool. But it was like, all right, here we go.
She almost lost you and she didn't like that.
Yeah, no, she did not. And that was on Valentine's Day, by the way, many years ago. But what ended up happening is I was like, all right, I got to figure this out. We got our own trailer at that time. I was 16. We were living in a trailer.
Actually, I have a question.
Yes.
So she didn't like you, and then you almost die basically in this car accident. What about that made her all of a sudden like you, do you think? Did you become did you let your guard down? Like, what happened? There had to have been something, or maybe you don't even know.
I think it was in that hospital bed. I just became so desirable. No, I'm just playing. No, I think it was just to me, it's one of those things where you never know what you have until you almost lose it or you do lose it. And I believe, I can't prove this or anything of the sorts. I do believe that at that moment, it was like, okay, I almost lost this individual and he was almost gone out of my life and I can't handle it. Which allowed the door to open up and literally laying on the hospital bed. She was like, I want to be with you. And I'm like, oh, okay. This is out of nowhere. Did you break up with your boyfriend yet? So it was kind of cool, but yeah, hey, it's how it goes, right?
So I would probably, not that this matters, but I would think that she probably had some feeling brewing before that. And then it was like, okay, yes, validated.
I think so. I would agree
Anyway,
with that too.
Back to what really matters here.
Yeah.
Overcoming.
Yeah. So at that moment, I said, all right, you got to step up. Like I was still and functioning, still doing everything I was doing daily, high loads of everything.
Okay.
And so I'm like, all right, you got to work. So I got a job at construction. I used to show up at the job site at 6 a.m. every day. I'd get done with that, typically around 4 or 5. I'd go straight to night school because I said, you know what, I'm going to have a kid. I need to graduate. I need to show them I still believe in education. I still believe in whatever you start out to do, you need to finish, in my opinion. And I still always felt this way before. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this. So then I went to night school. And from that point, I got done with night school. I'd go there for about an hour and a half. And then I went and cooked at a bar up until 2 a.m. That was my life for about 6 to 7 months straight. And then I got one job right before I graduated, I got one job that paid me close to the same as both jobs did. Back then, minimum wage was like $3 and something, $4 and something. So we don't need to go back that far. Right? So the one job where I was making,
way.
yeah, it's a little different now. I wanted to be there. I wanted to take care of my family. She ended up becoming my wife when I was 19. I got married when I was 19. And it was like, I wanted to do that. I wanted to take care of them. I wanted to do this and that. But the whole time I wasn't taking care of myself. I've always had that complex of being the savior. Mm-hmm. If you take any of the what would you be best at in life, I was always good at security. Go figure. When I'm doing everything wrong, it's because I'm a protector. And I think it's because of everything I've been through life. It's like, well, I want to protect this person next to me from going through the same thing that I did. And so that's what I did. I will work me to the bone. I will do whatever I can. So that way you don't have to do this, or you don't have to go through this. Mm-hmm. So there's a quick rundown through the next few years.
Okay, so let's jump to prison time, I guess, right? Because that came shortly after.
Yes. I got married when I was 19, and what was happening, that was September 11th. September 11th happened, and I immediately went to the recruiter's office, and I said, I want to go. Like, I felt strongly. I wanted to take care of the country. I loved the country and everything of the sorts. And I'm like, I want to be part of this. So I did all the testing before for the first couple months to go. And so we got married because the recruiter was like, hey, the only way your wife and kid can go, or the only way your kid can come with you is if you guys get married and everything of the sort. So we're like, hey, we've been together for 3 years. Why don't we just get married? And they're like, cool, courthouse, here we come. And so we got married. Don't do that. That was a mistake. But we did it. And the day before I was supposed to leave, you have to show all the paperwork for like scars or anything visible. Mm-hmm. And when I was 16, I overdosed and I took a bunch of pills. And in that paperwork was that. It showed a 16-year-old adolescent took 90 extra-strength Tylenols. And it was like, oh. So then the recruiter's like, the doctor was like, hey, you need to get medical transfers. You can't go. That might have saved my life. I don't know. That might have been somebody deciding that like, hey, if you go, you're going to die and we need you on this earth. So that kind of dictated what happened from that point forward. Now I felt like, man, I'm not even good enough to go serve my country. I'm not even here. I can't do this. And I started digging harder and deeper into the hole. I started dabbling with different drugs. I stopped the easier ones. So like I stopped smoking marijuana. I stopped doing what would be your normal gateway drugs, they say, and started doing a lot of the harder stuff. At that time, I didn't care about anyone, anything. I was doing roughly probably almost $500 a day worth of drugs.
Oh my God.
So I realized like, hey, in order to supply myself with this, I better start selling this because that's the only way to make that kind of money. And then my life really went down the whirlwind. So all that feeling of being included, being wanted, that's what I thrived for. That's what made me feel good about myself, is getting the phone calls at 3, 4 in the morning, being the people where they're banging on your windows or doing this and that. And meanwhile, the whole time I'm not lucid. I don't know what's going on. Like a person's brain can't function if they're doing that much stuff. I didn't care who I hurt. I didn't care what I hurt. I didn't care what was happening. I remember I couldn't afford anything one time and I went to my mom's house and my mom very sick. And I went into her closet. This is when I kind of hit my rock bottom. And she had a little mini safe that she kept. And I broke it open and took some coins out so I could go pawn them to get $15 worth of drugs. And I'm like, you're a wonderful human being at that point. And it just kept going. And I dragged people down with me. I dragged family members. I dragged friends. Like my best friend and I used to do everything together. And we were best friends since the time we were 11. How convenient. we did everything together with that. And I just kept going. And he got locked up. And then a couple years later, I got locked up. And it's for 2 years, I was on bond.
How old are you at this point when you get locked up?
So first time I really got arrested, I was 22. By then I already had, yeah, I forgot this part. Sorry. I ended up, while I was in jail for this, I was already dating somebody else, already impregnated somebody else while I was still married to the other person. We were separated. I'll say that we were already separated. But when I got with her, my daughter's mom, she already had a 3-month-old child, which is my daughter. And I was really going down a hole at this point. So this is 2003. So yeah, so I was 21. And then by the time I was turning 22, it was like, okay, I'm just full force, whatever I can sell, whatever I can do. Then I started getting it more into gang stuff. And then I started pushing deeper into the limits of how far could this white kid get in this environment. I was selling, my main drug of choice to sell was crack cocaine. It was my main drug of choice for me to do. So it was like, that's not normal where I'm from, of a white person taking over the community with doing that. So I got to get into areas that people shouldn't see, people shouldn't be part of. I've witnessed things, I've done things that you don't speak about, you don't do. It was a bad way of life, that's for sure. While I was going through, my daughter's mom was pregnant with my daughter. But what happened is I was going through this. I got arrested for like possession charge. Then I got arrested again for possession and a gun charge. Then I got arrested again for another possession charge. So I'm like, hey, I got a way out of this. Let me just get a fake identity.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. That worked out for a little while.
Mission oriented. I like that part, but
no, you figure out ways to get away with more things. Like, I mean, that's one thing about an addict. Anybody can tell you is we are very resourceful individuals. I've taken that into business now. I can tell you that. That's positive. But what ended up happening is I paid for a very, very good attorney, and I was looking at life, to be honest with you. And during questioning, I even got questioned by the FBI for 4 counts of capital murder. No, I didn't do it. But that's the life that I was living. That's the circle I was running with. Those were the people I was with. So my attorney got me sentenced down to a little bit. And it's funny. I remember this. I got mad. Like, what do you mean I'm going to do? It was like boot camp and 6 months worth of jail time. And I'm like, what do you mean I'm going to do this? How dare you? And he's like, Chad, think of everything you've done in your life. Why are you complaining? And I'm like, you got a point, but I still don't want to go away. Well, during this time, I was still using. I was doing the fake, oh, I'm good. I'm not using. I'm going to meetings. I'm doing this and that. I wasn't fully ready. And the day I stopped using, it was July 19th, 2005. I remember it's the last day I got arrested for drugs too. I went to a house, one of the old like spots. And I remember here comes the K9 units coming in. And I just started laughing. I literally sat on the couch and just started laughing. And the head sergeant, she walks in and she looks at me and she goes, Mr. Jacob, she says, we knew it. You're just like Christmas. We knew you'd be back around. And I'm like, what am I doing? And that was the moment. And 3 weeks later, my younger daughter was born. And then I got sentenced to prison in February, and away I go. Did my 4 years, and there's more to the story from being in there, but that is the scaled down version of what it took.
Okay, so I do want to talk about your prison time though, because I love your prison time. Your story, what I've been told, is that you helped 150 inmates get their GED.
Yes,
That's amazing. So I hate that you went to prison. I mean, I love it and I hate it. Like, that's not a great place to be, but I think it's what got you back on the right track. But also you went in and served 150 people in such a great way. and probably got their lives on a totally different track than they ever would have been on without you have coming to prison. So yay for going to prison, I guess.
Find the positive. That'll go. That's what we do.
But what motivated you to do this? You're in prison. I mean, obviously, you said you had this turning point when they came in and they looked at you and they're telling you, oh, like Christmas, we knew this was happening. And you were like, wow, I'm so predictable. Obviously, had this awakening, I got to change my life. But then now you're in prison. So I guess you hang on to this belief that I'm going to change my life. And then what makes you decide I'm going to change others as well?
So I took it as a blessing that I was able to go. When I went away, I was clean for 7 months. It doesn't sound like much for an addict that's been for 13 years since the time
Yeah.
they were 11, that's been full blown at it. That was a big deal to me. It gave me a foundation to stand on. Meanwhile, when I went in, my best friend, we ended up at the same twice. We ended up at the same facility. My best friend didn't change his life. He was the number one heroin dealer inside the prison. He was the number one weed dealer inside the prison. So it was very, very accessible for whatever I wanted. And he had tons of money because he's getting it all in. And so he's showering me with gifts like, here, like we've been best friends. We've gone through a lot of stuff together. And it was like, here you go. And I'm like, man, I'm back. Like, it's right here. I'm making 17 cents an hour at my job. And this guy's giving me $200 pairs of shoes because he has too much money in his account. He's like, here, take this. Like, you need this. So I started seeing it and I'm like, this isn't good. This isn't good. And I'm like, what do I do? So to be honest, at first it was like, figure out a way to stay busy. Figure out a way to do to where.
Let's dissect it a little bit.
Okay.
Why isn't this good? Because for somebody that does drugs and is in that lifestyle, it is good. They feel good most of the time, other than when they're crashing and waiting for their next high, but they like it. That's why they keep doing it, right? It keeps numbing the pain. So what made you decide this is not good? Because there's a lot of people that think there's nothing wrong with their lifestyle, right? So I'm trying to help people that maybe are in the same place or know somebody in the same place. Like, what part of you realized like this is not good? What was not good about it? I mean, obviously I know what's not good about it, but from your perspective of an addict, what was your addict brain saying? Because I just can't imagine being in such a place of using drugs and now I'm in prison and your life is just kind of not made up of a lot of greatness, in all honesty, right? You clearly had hope. How did you have this hope?
The first way I looked at it is one thing about most addicts is the first thing they always say is, I have this under control. I have this under control. And it's like, no. And then the second point is most addicts, their mentality is they do have controlling behaviors. They have controlling like indexes to where they want to control things in life. But the funny thing is you're never controlling yourself because you're too busy letting other things influence that, which is typically the drugs. So that's what started it for me. And when I said it's not good, it's because I knew I was giving control to something else, something outside. And then when I realized what life could be like, when I realized what the joy felt like when I got to kiss my daughter, my youngest daughter, and that was the first time I've kissed one of my kids clean or, held my child or played with the kids. And I was like, this is the life. This is feelings. This is what it truly feels like to protect somebody. This is what it feels like to be responsible for somebody. That joy that you feel inside, I've never felt before. And they always talk about chasing the dragon or chasing this, which is you're always going to be chasing the way you felt the first time you got high. And it's true. But I can tell you what, there wasn't a drug in the world that made me feel what I felt like when I got to see my daughter born or my youngest son born when I was completely clean. The other kids, I was messed up. I was not right. So that's what gave me the hope. And the fact is that if I was able to do it out there, why can't I do it in here? And so I walked in and I'm like, when I say like, this is not good, the first thing I saw was like, okay, I got enticed by the money. Like I saw the behaviors, the lifestyle. I saw it again. Like even in there, literally I was making 17 cents an hour. I made 71 cents a day working all day long and obviously not good condition. Okay, but you did what you did to put you here. And then I'm watching my friend, luxury clothes, everything of the sorts. And I'm like, all right. But then I saw what came, I'm like, there's the lifestyle I want. But then I saw what came with it, which was assault. I saw him almost get jumped many times. So obviously I was part of that, like trying to stop, protect, and do things of the nature. And I'm like, why are you going to keep reliving this life? This is insanity. You're just doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And it's not going to go away. So then I said, well, if he thinks this, other people are going to think this. They think that this is the way it goes. So the first thing I did is I started focusing on how can I improve myself? And then once I went from there, I was like, okay, I got my custodial maintenance technician thing. So now I learned a new trade. I learned new skill. I'm like, I'm going to teach somebody how to sweep the floors. I'm going to teach somebody how to, like, that's no disrespect to anybody in that field. Like, it's very important, but it's like, I felt there was more of me to give. And I'm still seeing this happening. I'm watching people OD there. I'm watching people getting taken out by mop buckets, like literally watching their heads just, yeah. And I'm like,
Well, I have to say that's an important question for people to think about or ask themselves. And that question of, is this all I have to give in this life? I think that's a really important question to ask yourself at any point in life, because if the answer is you're not giving all that you can give, start figuring out how you can, because if you're not, eventually that's going to catch up to you and then it's going to eat at you emotionally and spiritually.
yes.
But carry on.
No, you're spot on. And so then I said, what can I do? And I said, the first thing I did, I said, I want to work basically it's like a teacher's aide where they put you in it. And honestly, disrespect to the people that do this, but a lot of the people that come from outside that come into the prison system, they don't necessarily care. So you're sitting there with somebody that's trying to teach you, but they don't, a lot of them look at you, not all of them, be very clear, but there's a lot of them that just look down on you. Like you're a number, you're inmate 570658. Never forget that number. And that's who you are. You're not Chad. That's it. And so that's how they view you.
Let's look at it from their perspective though, Chad. What are the statistics on inmates that get out and make something of themselves? And I'm not saying that in a disrespectful way. I'm genuinely asking, and I get that you understand their perspective as well, but I think that's a huge piece of it, right? The perspective we take is from certain things, and their perspective is probably the statistics on the majority of the inmates do not leave and not go back, and they do not leave and make something big of themselves. But go ahead. Do you know the statistics on that?
Not off the top of my head. I do not.
Okay.
I know it's very high.
Yeah, exactly.
The recidivism rate, I think, is somewhere around 70% last I knew. I kind of stopped checking probably almost a decade ago.
How depressing.
Yeah, no, but you're right. Cause it's one of those things in life where it's like, why are you going to try for somebody and believe in somebody if they don't believe in themselves? So it's downright depressing. It just sucks. So, but I felt like that gave me the chance because now we're equals. So when I would come in and sit in this room, I'm like, hey, let me figure this out. And at first it was a skilled pay. So I got $1.26 a day. So I got a raise for this. So I was like, heck yeah.
Yeah.
And so it was a big deal. I'm going to make $7 a week. Like I'm going to get some more ramen noodles. And it was like, here we go. So, but then I started feeling the joy of it. I can probably count off the top of my head, I think it was like 8 to 10 people that didn't even know how to read when I started working with them. And these are grown men, 30 to 40 years old, some older, but that was the average range that I was working with. Some of them didn't know how to read, barely knew addition, subtraction. And I was like, hey, if you really want to do this, I will work with you. I'll work with you outside of class. I'll work with you here. So it felt like I was growing through them. Mm-hmm. And that was the start.
There's such a joy and accomplishment.
Yes.
There's such a fulfillment.
It felt so good when they'd go take their test, because that's what you do. You'd be able to get your GED in there. You'd be able to do this and that. And they'd come back and they'd be like, Chad, thank you, man. Here's my score for math. I got it. But in science, I didn't get it. And I'm like, it's all right. You can retake that part in a month. So now we're going to double down on this. And I'm be like, But then also I'm the person that says, hey, let's look at your math score though. You barely passed. I don't want to give up on that. And they're like, well, but I already passed it. And I'm like, no. That's the wrong way to look at life. Like, you just got by. I did the minimum and I made it. And I'm like, no, that's not who you want to be. You're just going to get by then, and you're never going to get anywhere in life. Like, you still have the same mentality here. You're going to have that and carry it when you step out those doors.
Yeah.
It's going to be worse because there's going to be other distractions out there. I'm like, let's go. So we would keep working and keep working. It just felt great. It was that desire. It was the joy, but it was in different ways. It was not I'm providing them to get high, to ruin their life, to lose their goods, to lose their families. It was, I'm doing something for them that is going to help them for the rest of their life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. That helped you as well because it kept you busy and motivated and feeling fulfilled. So it was a win-win for everybody. So you do all this in prison, which is great. You get out, and then how does your success become?
I'm going to go back one more step though.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah, because I bounced around at 13 different prisons when I was in there for that time. That's the way the system works. So not all of them have a school system that you can just get into. Okay. So I ended up getting to one place in Jackson that has what was called a residential substance abuse treatment place. And I knew that was my calling at that moment in time. I said, I need to go here to help. So I worked with the counselors, and then I also helped. I ran all the meetings inside the prison. I helped people find their higher power. I helped people go through the steps. I helped people reconnect with loved ones. And I realized at that time, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to help people be better versions of themselves and show them that you don't have to keep going the same use, the same drugs, the same behaviors. And we helped to dig down to the why. And where the recidivism rate for them to go back and use is not the same. You don't have to be that person. If you are going to be a stat, be the stat of the other way. Be the stat that they don't expect you to be that smaller 20%. And that's what I took. And that I valued that. And I did it all the way up until I got released. Well, here comes the day I get released. My daughter's mom was supposed to pick me up. And this is talking about a chance to knock you back on your butt. The way it works for being released is you have to get approved to be put to their home, to be able to go like this. And then what happened is she never showed up to pick me up.
I've seen this on Love After Lockup.
Never seen that show. Yeah. But she didn't pick me up. And then I needed to find somebody to stay with. Luckily, somebody I met from the program before I went in, he was kind enough to open the doors to me and gave me a place to go. The day I got out, I said, I need a job. I'm not going to be, I knew that if I didn't get a job, I didn't start working, I was going to be that statistic. I was going to be that person that just went back out there. So I started going. And I kept my head down. I grinded. Was I perfect? No. I kept driving a car, didn't have a driver's license. I got arrested a couple times for that. And it was like, well, I might go back to prison because I can't stop driving. I'm like, Your Honor, I'm driving to work though. That's what I'm doing. I have no way to get there.
Why couldn't you get a driver's license?
Because with all the charges I had and everything, I was not allowed to. We'll say that. That was it. So over 10 years without a license after I was incarcerated.
Okay.
Before they finally let me even test to get it back. And then it was restricted for a couple of years.
Wow.
So again, it was like, here's a roadblock. Are you going to let it cripple you or are you going to figure it out? And I figured it out. It may not have been the right way to figure it out, but I figured it out.
I saw that a lot on the show. I saw so many people get out and I'm like, gosh, they don't have like a fighting chance. There's just so many roadblocks. And obviously it's a TV show, so I don't know all the ins and outs, but it did not seem like the prison system sets people up for success.
No. Actually, it gave me medical issues too, which was not good. So again, this was
my stomach hurt just when you said all you could eat was like ramen. I'm like, oh
yeah,
I wouldn't survive.
I'm allergic to all poultry, and that's basically all you get is processed food in there, which always has chicken or turkey or something in it.
Yeah.
So I ate a lot of like food that was probably not very good for you to eat on a daily, regular basis. And I ended up getting ulcerative colitis from it.
I have
Um,
ulcerative colitis.
yeah. So you know how it is.
I sure do. I cannot imagine. That's what I was thinking when you were saying it. I was like, I wouldn't survive in there. I
Yeah.
like literally would not survive.
Yeah. 2 weeks after being released, I'm seeing a gastro doctor. I'm going through this. They're like, we got this experiment. I was 26 at the time, 27. And they're like, normally you're not this young when you have this. And I'm like, okay, what does that mean? And they're like, we got this experimental drug, but it's like $400 a month. I'm like, dude, I just got like, you don't have any money for this. And they're like, all right, then you just deal with it. And I'm like, yeah, no. So I've had 2 surgeries since where they cut everything out of me, but that's besides the point. But you understand how that goes.
Yeah.
Not great.
Yeah.
So, but again, it was like, here's a hurdle. Here's a roadblock. Here we go.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just fast forward all the way to where we are now. How about that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Let's get us up. Well, after being released for a little bit, I ended up getting attached to somebody else, and we ended up getting married right away. I knew her for 6 months.
At least you always found love in your story. You always found some love.
Yeah. Always found somebody. One again, don't like being alone. So it's like, you just hang on, let's go.
Yeah.
We got married. She was pregnant again. So one thing I didn't learn was how to have safe sex, I guess you could say.
I was going to say you are very capable of making babies. So there's another
Not
way.
more, but I definitely wanted. And so here we go. And so I was having my youngest son, who is now, he'll be 13 in July. But like, that was a definite mistake to get married. That one, that was it just matter. It was first person I was really talking to after I got out. 6 months later, we're like, let's go, let's get married. And even the night before the wedding, we're like, why are we doing this? And I'm like, I don't know, but let's do it. We got everybody invited tomorrow. It was like, okay. And then it was like, yeah, no. So the divorce took longer than the marriage lasted because she was pregnant. So that was done. We're very, very cordial. We're wonderful co-parents. Like, she's probably the best person I co-parent with. So that's awesome. Wonderful mom. We were not good together by any means. So luckily though, she gave me one of the best things in my life. So I was working at the same place from the time I got out for a few years. And because I got released in the very end of 2009, and around 2016, I rekindled the relationship with my dad. So I'm all about second chances. I'm all about not holding grudges. I'm all about not having that animosity inside, because if I give you power over me, shame on me. And that's all you do. The grudges, the animosity doesn't mean you have to like everybody.
Yeah.
But if I have any ill will towards you, that means you have power over me. That means you're controlling my thoughts. You're controlling my actions. You're controlling everything. I don't like that.
Yeah.
I've been controlled too long with other things. It's like, no. So I went down there, saw him, who's now my new wife. We've been married for a while. We went down there, and my dad took me to a baseball game. I'm a big Rays fan. And it was a horrible baseball game. The Rays were getting killed. But the founder of College Hunks, one of them, Omar, was throwing out the first pitch. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, that's a weird name for a company. Like, College Hunks, like, what is this? Like it just threw me off. Come to find out, all of a sudden, here comes this group of people, sit down behind me. He was one of them. And I'm like, oh, now I think this guy's famous. You're throwing out the first pitch. You got to be like Libby Dunn or somebody like that. Like, you got to be super famous. You're cool.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, who are you? What is this funny name? And Nick started talking to me more. Nick is very, very talkative. He loves talking to people. So he started talking to me. He was the one mainly behind me. By the 7th inning, he offered me a job. He didn't know my past. He didn't know anything like that, but he's like, talking to you, like, I want you on my team. Like, he knew I was in the moving industry. He knew what I was doing. I was a current low-level manager where I was at. And he's like, I want you. And I'm like, are you serious? You don't know me.
You're like, hold on, let me tell you all about Chad.
Yeah, let me tell you who I really am. Like, this is what you think you see. And he's like, yeah, they had their wives, their kids, they had everybody there, family. Like, we got to go. Give me your card. I'll call you. And I was like, okay, here's my card. I didn't think he's ever going to call me. Not even a day later, I get a phone call. Hey, you ready to fly down for an interview? And I'm like, you're serious? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, but this is in Tampa. I live in Michigan. And he's like, I don't care. He's like, I want you to come down here. Like, we actually have the general manager of our corporate store is going to open his own location. I want you to interview for that role. So I said, okay, well, you got to fly my wife and I down there. He says, okay. Well, my fiance at the time. And we flew down there and it was Halloween because he's like, I want to interview you quick. This man interviewed me in a full-blown chicken costume, like head, gloves, everything. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, no wonder why this guy offered me a job at a baseball game. Like, this dude's crazy. It was just cool.
Yeah.
And at that moment in time, I said, you know what? Let's be open and honest. I mean, background checks can come on, everything. Like, listen, let's be true to him of who I am and what I've done. And while he's wearing this chicken costume, he interviews me and we get deep into conversations and I go over everything and he says, okay. I'm like, what do you mean, okay? Nobody looks at me this way. And he's like, okay, like, we'll figure this out. He says, as long as you're being honest with me, we got this. I said, okay.
Wow.
I didn't take the job because I had my 4 kids and I didn't want to move that far away from my kid. To me, I finally just started really being a parent.
Yeah.
I wasn't there for my oldest son. I wasn't there for my oldest daughter. I was barely there for my younger daughter because, rightfully so, the moms were like, I don't trust you.
Yeah.
I know what you've done. Like, I don't want you around my kid. It took me a long time to be able to create that relationship. So these people came back to me and said, what do you think about owning your own franchise? And I was like, I don't got no money. You're crazy. And they're like, no, we'll figure this out. And I'm like, whatever. You guys are not like,
Yeah.
and just the whole process, they believed in me,
Wow.
which is something most people don't do. Sometimes you just need somebody to believe in you that believes like, hey, you're better than this. You can do this. And that helps you believe in yourself.
Yes. So often people just need that cheerleader in their corner.
Yes. So next thing I know, I did everything very, very unconventional to put all my eggs in a basket and said, you know what, let's go. And now I own opening up 3rd location. I own businesses that do over $10 million a year in revenue. So I went from making 17 cents an hour to doing $10 million a year. Like, it's in not that long of time.
Go Chad.
Yeah, it's been 15 years. That's not that long, realistically.
Wow. It's such a beautiful story because it's not just about you and pushing through the struggles. There's also this other human that comes into play from college hunks and just has this belief in you and this faith and offers you this guiding hand. And it's just I feel like it's something to say for humanity that there are still people out there that want to help people and see them succeed. And I think it's really important for people that are struggling so greatly and think, I talk about this a lot, that the cards were just dealt for me and they just are what they are. And this is just my life. And a lot of people think I haven't had these opportunities like you have and my life's just not as easy and you don't get it. There's a lot of that, right? I feel like you probably have come across that a lot where, right? A lot of people just think, wow.
Must be nice.
Yeah, wow. It is nice, but it wasn't nice. It wasn't nice until it was nice. Like, I promise.
The overnight success. No, this is not no overnight. Like, you don't know what struggles.
Yeah.
No, like I put it on the line. My family put it on the line. It's like you said, put your money where your mouth is. You have to believe in yourself and you have to back yourself and you have to do that no matter what it is in life. And I'm using this example of business here, but like I took out 9 credit cards within 30 minutes because I knew that if you take it out that fast, it's not going to hit your credit report yet. So therefore you keep getting approved. And I was like, hurry, get it. Cause that's how I was going to make payroll. That's how I was going to pay the people I was getting. And I got 0% interest on all of them. I'm like, I'm ready to go. I took out 2 unsecured loans with over a 13% interest. And this is back when interest rates were like 3%, 4%, not when they're like what they are now. And I'm like, hey, like, I'm going to figure this out. Like, let's do this. And because I wasn't going to take no, I wasn't going to take what I've been told my whole life where it's like, you're not good enough or you can't do this or you'll never walk. Like, no, you're wrong. You're wrong. I'm going to figure it out and I'm not going to give up. I'm going to fight because that's what I've done. I'm a fighter. I've done it my whole life and I'm going to keep doing it. And it's just like what you're talking about. That's the mentality. That's the mindset is you can say, poor me or you can use that as fuel to build your fire, to make you a better human being, to make you a better companion, to make you a better leader, and you just go.
So, what would you say for people that are wanting to have success? They listen to your story and they're thinking, I want to be Chad. I want this outcome. I want to have a high level of success. Where do they start? Do they start with this questioning of, do I feel like I'm where I'm meant to be? Is there more for me? Is this kind of where we start? And then from there, where do they go?
I think the first biggest thing is you need to figure out who you are as a human being. Own who you are, and not only who you are, but what has made you who you are.
Mhm.
Everybody asks me, do you regret your past? And I say, there are certain things that I wish didn't happen, but at the end of the day, I don't regret anything I've done because it's made me who I am today.
Mhm.
It's made me the person I am. It's made me the loving, caring person that I am.
Mhm.
And I say to myself, when you ask a question like that, it's like, it's the first thing I need to do is figure out who you are as an individual, feel like who you want to be,
Mhm.
and see if there's a divide. If there's any divide between what you are now and where you want to be, then what are you going to do to get there? And if anything gets in your way, you say, why? We talked about at the beginning. Why is there a roadblock here? What is it about this that's to me?
Mhm.
And push through it.
Mhm.
Because at the end of the day, whatever you push through is only going to make you stronger.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter if you fail. It doesn't matter. You're learning. But
Right.
now if you're not receptive to learning, shame on you. If you grab that hot pan and it burns you and you're like, oh, ouch. And then you go, let's do it again. Like, well, no, you got something wrong with you. And that's the thing. If you want to succeed, if you want to get by, I don't care what it is. There's no level. To people ask, what does success mean to you? And a lot of people view success as how much money is in your bank account or what you're driving or what you wear. I wear clothes from Sam's Club, unless it's branded uniform. I get all my clothes from Sam's Club, from Walmart. Like, my shoes come from an Under Armour outlet store that are buy one, get one free. None of that stuff means anything to me. What makes me feel successful is my kids looking up to me, me being the parent that the kids can trust, talk to, because I didn't have that growing up. I didn't have those opportunities. Helping my youngest son, work out to where builds his self-esteem, because that's the most important thing to me as a parent, is that my kids have confidence in themselves.
Right.
It doesn't mean they have to be the best at anything, but they have to have confidence in who they are and what they want to do, because that's where it goes downhill if they lose their confidence. And so that's what I would stress and say, figure out who you are, figure out where you want to be in life, no matter what it is, and then give it your all. Don't
Yeah.
give up. Don't let anything get in your way. It's just going to make you stronger.
Oh, but I want to emphasize to the success part of how you're talking about, like, I wear clothes from here. And the thing is, though, success can be defined however people want to.
Yes.
So if success to them looks like designer clothes, that's okay, right? Everybody can have their own version of success for sure. But it is important to look at what is your definition of success and how am I going to get there?
One of the things that it stuck with me from a book I read when I very first went to prison, it was The Secret. And I believe in this stuff. And it was talking about how they get excited when they get bills in the mail. And so I taught my youngest that now. He's like, oh, Dad, we got more bills. Like, here they are. Like, they never stop coming. And I smile. And he's like, why are you smiling? I said, because I can pay those bills.
Yeah.
There's so much in my life where I couldn't pay those bills. So I'm grateful that I'm getting those bills. I'm grateful of why I need those bills, because guess what? You see this house we're living in, see this car we're driving, that's where those bills are coming from. It's because we have all these wonderful things that I didn't have. So be grateful for what you have, be positive for it, and see what there is. And don't judge yourself for what somebody else has, because that might be what they feel is what they need. It doesn't mean that's what you need.
Yeah.
You're spot on with that.
And I didn't want to get into all that, but that was exactly what I was thinking of when you were talking about him. Just like, it feels very divinely that he was sitting there, right? One of the owners of College Hunks sitting right behind you. Everything it seemed like you put out that energetic shift of, I am no longer Chad that does drugs and Chad that can't find his way out of a hole. I am Chad that's going to step up and I'm going to take advantage of everything that comes my way. And the universe is like, okay, well, here you go then. And then the opportunities start to flow your way. it's important to put your thought where you want to end up, because then the energy will naturally align to that.
Yep. Because if all you do is think about, I'm such a failure, or this isn't going right, or this or that, that's the outcome you're going to get.
But what's going to come from them?
Like-
What can the universe even do with that? Like, there's nothing to do with that. You can't, like, the universe is like, okay, what do I make of this? Like, you're a failure. Okay. Like, thumbs up. Cool. I mean, there's not a lot the universe can do with that. But if you're like, I'm smart and I'm going to be successful and I have all the tools and I am ready to go. And if you're saying I'm ready to go, the universe is like, okay, well, then here you go. But
Yep. That doesn't mean you're not going to get punched then along the way, though. Like, you're going to get the hard knocks, but it can't be any worse than what I've already done. It can't be any worse than what I've already gone through. And you hear that in business too, though. It's like, people are like, oh, the market is the worst it's ever been, or interest rates are this, especially in the moving industry. That is over 26% of moving companies last year closed down. 26% nationwide closed down. And here I am, and I'm like, well, we're growing. I'm adding locations. I'm taking this as a positive. Like, here we go. That means more opportunity. It took my whole life to make me feel that way, to make me believe that way. Like, when one door closes, another one opens. I believe that. But the problem is you might have to kick down that other door. That door might not just present itself, but like you said, you manifest it, you believe it. And then so that way, when the opportunity comes, you have the faith in yourself that you can do it. Because otherwise you just cowered up and die. And it's like, why?
And it's all about these stepping stones too. And like you said earlier, the failure. I think that's so important to have failure. Without the failure, you have no learning opportunities.
Yep. My team hates this about me, and my kids hate it too. Because I tell them, I said, I'm the worst devil's advocate you'll ever meet. And they're like, yeah, we know. And I'm like, yeah, but here's the reason why, is because I might agree with you 100% on what you're saying. But I want you to believe in yourself so much and what your thought is or what your decision is, that no matter how much I challenge you, you're going to stick to what you believe in rather than just change your mindset. Because if you fully, truly believe in what it is, nothing can stop you. Nothing can stop you. You just go with it and you go. And so that's why I do what I do.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I think this is a very valuable story for people to hear. If people want to connect with you, is there a way that they can reach out to you?
Through email, I guess.
Okay. You don't have to put that out there. Sometimes people like to share that, but you don't have to.
Yeah, it'd be fine to email me. It's just, my name is Chad.Jacob, Jacob, at chhj.com.
College Hunks Hauling Junk.
There you go.
Yep. I mean, I just could see there might be some people that want some advice and they want to be you, or they just want to get out of their hole. So I think it's great when people can connect. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Andrea. I appreciate you having me on today.
Absolutely.